Same guy, been in the industry since 1971 when I was a trainee manager at the then Montego Beach Hotel. It's now part of the Cameron enterprise. Today I'm at Agro-Invest. It's a wonderful conference which is targeting an area that Jamaica has enormous potential to develop: agriculture. If we take advantage of the opportunities that exist, we can solve Jamaica's financial problems. As far as I'm concerned, we've only scratched the surface. And with tourism being one of the largest industries that brings millions of people, you actually have an export market, because with tourism, they're foreigners. When foreigners buy your goods, it's equivalent to export. We don't have to put it on a ship or stuff on a ship. They can stay right here and consume our agricultural products. When I just started in the business in 1971, when I walked into the Montego Beach Hotel, I remember the first night, the manager's dining room, I was a trainee manager, served the same food as I served to the guests. I didn't recognize a damn thing on my plate. Everything was imported. Everything. Broccoli, we never used to grow broccoli in Jamaica. Brussels sprouts, all different kinds of squashes. They were, first of all, the chefs were all foreign in those days, and the managers were foreign, and they just brought everything, from abroad, basically. Today it's changed a lot. Plus, people are more interested in trying out, consuming, and enjoying local cuisines wherever they go. They don't want to see the same thing that they have in America or Canada or whatever. So we have a marvelous opportunity. Plus, we have a lot of excellent chefs in Jamaica that can present the food in a first-class manner. And a lot of them are very creative, and they've created some excellent recipes. In fact, when I eat in places like Pier 1 or the one on Bottom Road that's been there forever. What's the one that's been there forever on Bottom Road?
You have Pelican.
Pelican. The food is always excellent. Where we fall down is service. In most cases, service is not good. That is something we need to focus. We haven't invested enough, but that can be corrected very easily. A few weeks, a few months, and you can change that. So, we were talking early at lunch that I missed a session where I think it was Jampro and the Exim Bank. They were talking about providing loans for farmers at an interest rate of 8%. I mean, 8% is ridiculous. We're competing against the United States, for example. We buy a lot of our foodstuff from there. Their interest rate is probably 3%. Plus, they have economies of scale. So when they grow, 1,000 acres of stuff, they can grow it for a penny per pound. Literally. Not literally, So in order to support the local farm industry, we have to go with grants as much as we can, and low interest loan. I'm talking about a maximum of 5% at the top, average 3%, right? Because farmers are still kind of stuck in some of the old methods of production. The way our land is, it's very difficult to mechanize. Let's take a crop like coffee. Brazil, Colombia, and places like that, they produce most of the coffee in the world. They just put a combine on the 10,000 acres. The equipment rows it, plants it, reaps it. In Jamaica, our best coffee are grown in the hills, the Blue Mountains. You can't mechanize that. Everything has to be picked by hand, and that is why it's so expensive. I've seen them picking Have you ever been to the Blue Mountains? Oh my God, if those pickers fall off, they're dead because it's like 3,000 feet down the gully, right? But when they pick the coffee, they only pick the ripe, cherry ripe coffees. That's why our coffee is so good. It's strong, but it's not bitter. When you taste Brazilian coffee, Maxwell House and those kind of things, they're bitter because when the combine goes through, you can't distinguish between ripe coffee, young coffee, green coffee, so you get everything. Now, Mr. Minister of Agriculture, I'm appealing to you. You're a very good guy. Everybody loves you. The farmers love you. But you need to really focus on some other things. The government has to be willing to invest in the industry in terms of providing the kind of support, financial and technical support. Where possible, we need to have more tractors that are available. We're not supposed to be using fog to dig up place anymore. There are farming areas like Mafuta that I used to be involved in when I was at Sandals. They have 100 acres of fairly flat land. They're still using fork to dig the land. There's water close by, but the water is down in the gully. The farms are higher, and they don't have any water. So they have to rely on rainfall. I mean, all of that should be of the past because the technology is there. We can use, for example, solar pumps, right, to move the water uphill. We should have a bank of solar panels powering a solar pump system that will send the water way up top, the highest point in the area, have several 100,000 gallons so that the farmers never have to worry about water. One thing about Jamaica, I've lived in all of the major Caribbean islands or visited them many times. I lived in Bahamas, Antigua, St. Lucia, been to Trinidad many times, Barbados. They don't have water. If rainfall in the Bahamas is accidental, you hear me? We have water, tons of it, but the water is over there, right? Like in St. Elizabeth. Finally, they're going to do something to harness the water in the Black River. That should have been done years ago, right? Whatever it costs, we would have made back the money a million times. So, tourism, I think it represents about 30% of our GDP. Farming can represent more than that. We should be the breadbasket of the Caribbean. The Caribbean shouldn't import anything from anywhere else except Jamaica. We should be exporting to Barbados, Trinidad, all of those places. They don't have the ability to grow the stuff. We have the ability.
Since you're on the topic of tourism, what about agro-tourism?
All right, agro-tourism to me means exposing our visitors to our agriculture in different ways. I, for example, am developing an attraction. Those of you who have been around long enough would have heard of Croydon in the mountains. Croydon was very good. I was so impressed when I went there. Darkeet Hannah, he had, I don't know how many acres, probably about maybe 8 or 10 acres. There was a little plot of coffee, a little plot of cocoa, a little plot of whatever. So the visitors could get to see the different items and sample them. Now, I inherited, along with my siblings, 75 acres up in the hills of St. James. And I'm putting together an agro-tourism project which is going to be out of this world. I have gathered a sample of just about everything that grows or can grow in Jamaica. Apart from the pineapple, I have, when the guests arrive, they'll be let off at the entrance. They'll be escorted by gorgeous tour guides, guys and girls. They'll be met by a calypso band and so on. And then they'll be snaked, taken through a trail which has the sample of all the various beautiful tropical flowers and plants. Along the way, they'll also get to see and sample banana, soursop, sweet sop, otaiti apple, mango, whatever is in season. Plus things that I only discovered recently, like black Sapote, Sapote, originally from Central America. The most amazing fruit. It tastes like chocolate. As a matter of fact, they call it the chocolate pudding fruit. Now, there's a gentleman in my village that used to be a yam producer, backbreaking work. He planted a few black supported trees and now cockapoo fruit on his veranda because he sells the fruit for $500 a pound, and he also exports the fruits and the leaves to Canada. I think some people from Bangladesh or whatever group of immigrants that live there, they swear by this thing, right? It's medicinal. He's making a killing. We have an advantage. I mean, we can't compete with America with a lot of things, right? Because again, with the economies of scale. But niche crops like black sapote. A farmer gave me 5 plants of something he calls peanut butter fruit. It's about the size of an almond. When it's ripe, there's nothing like, it's gorgeous. It's red. It has the consistency of custard apple. Let me see now. Nesberry and paradise. That's the only way to describe it. It's absolutely stunningly delicious. We can grow those things, and I was on a radio program with the Minister of Agriculture, and I was suggesting that we focus on some of those niche crops because we can't compete with certain things at all, right? Let us, where we can have a competitive advantage, where we can grow stuff like those 2 plants that I mentioned. They can grow on hillside. They don't need no arable land. They can grow on rocky soil. They don't need, stuff like you can't grow yam on rocky hillside. You can grow these 2 crops there. And they're high value crops. You can't sell yam for $500 a pound unless it's really out of season. And most times you're not going to get more than, $100, $200 a pound. You're getting $500 doing nothing at all, basically. You plant it, you don't even have to, after it's established, you don't have to do anything else.
So what do you think about the Agro-Investment Forum?
Well, it's a great idea. Trying to link the people that do the work with manufacturers that can create value added. One of the things that annoys me, up in my village, you're in breadfruit season, most of the breadfruit goes to waste. Apple season, most of the apple goes to waste. We should be converting all of those things into items that the people can take back. Jams, sauces, juices, nectars. We're not doing it. We can make a hell of a lot more money again, and we could treat that as an export production because the people are buying it, spending US dollars, and taking it back with them.
Do you think the government or the country at large is doing a lot for agriculture in terms of young entrepreneurs?
They are beginning to focus on that. This program, for example, this Agro-Invest thing. I don't know how many of the younger generation they have managed to reach. Unfortunately, I couldn't come this morning, so I haven't taken a look at the attendees. You're here. Are there a lot of young people here? Wonderful. This is one way. I mean, you have social media, you can reach everybody. And people are beginning to understand that farming is no longer a dirty clothes, man with a donkey, what do you call it, industry anymore. It's a business, a serious business. And there's so many branches. You can be a farmer growing the stuff. You can be a manufacturer converting it into a value-added product. You can be a scientist of some kind. We should have a very serious R&D sector department, whatever, focusing on agriculture, right? Helping us to develop better strains that can stand the climate change problems. We, with lack of water sometimes, or too much water, etc., etc.
All right. In future months or weeks, I should say, people in St. Elizabeth, or farmers in St. Elizabeth, I should say, has been plagued by predalacy. I know it's not your portfolio, it's not your thing, but as a citizen involved in farming, like to talk about farming, what do you think in terms of solution the government should do pertaining to?
Well, one thing that is extremely effective is drone technology. And it's exceedingly cheap now. You can buy a drone for literal pennies. And I think in the concentrated farming areas, we should set up a system where police officers are manning drones that work 24/7, and they will cover, let's say 50 square miles or 30 square miles, and catch the crooks while they're in action. You know what is the most painful thing? I've seen it. A farmer spent 2 years developing a herd of goats. 2 years. You don't make any money yet, and just spend money. And some corporates come overnight, one truck, and thief everything, and leave the farmer completely empty-handed. I mean, I don't blame the farmers for taking them out when they catch them, because it's just completely wicked. But, we're not supposed to be promoting violence, but there's some effort to try to get on top of predalacy. But I think we should take it a lot further. As I said, creating stations. Just like warfare nowadays, they have infantry going fighting, they're using drones. Look at the war in Ukraine, right? 99% of the activity is up in the air with those little aircrafts that can surveil a place and deal with the enemy, And I think we can deal with the enemy using drone technology.
Okay. So anything final?
Yeah, final. I am developing this agro-tourism project. It will be a wonderful tour. It will be a wonderful tour that gives the visitor in 1.5 hours an exposure to everything Jamaican, just about. It will expose them to the flora, the fauna, the fruits. They'll get a chance to sample them. The drinks that we have to offer, everything is going to be Jamaican, 100%, right? We'll use rums. We're not going to use scotch and vodka, right? We'll have a show which features Jamaican music. One of the things that doesn't belong in this conversation is the fact that the entertainment business in the tourism sector is being run by a foreigner. There's a guy called Ho Chi Minh or whatever his name is from Dominican Republic. You know what the default music is in hotels nowadays? Cha-cha and merengue, not reggae anymore. So my thing is an authentic 100% Jamaican.
Where's your
It's 7 miles. It's 7 miles from Montego Bay. It's in a place called Hopeton. Hopeton, you go, if you're going from Montego Bay, you go past Westgate, you turn left, you go Fairfield Road, through Granville, through Retirement, through Gutters, through Camrose and Kemshot. All about a mile apart.
So if they
7 miles.
If they want to find it to make a reservation, how they can contact you?
Well, it's not officially open yet, but I'll give them my WhatsApp. My WhatsApp is 1-876-204-3765. My email is Peterkin TLC, as in tender loving care, @yahoo.com. I also have a YouTube channel. It's Horace Peterkin Unfiltered, and I discuss a lot of things like that on those.
Okay, guys, you need to go on his channel and check it out.
Absolutely.
Thank you.